Hi, this is Mrs. Strawn, and today we are going to take notes on food chains and food webs. Now, these are what we call doodle notes. So, yes, we do need to fill in all the blanks, but also I do require you to color them to get full credit. You'll see the rubric for filling it out and for coloring in Canvas. All right, you ready? So, let's begin. Okay, food chains and food webs. Food chains and food webs are diagrams that show how energy flows between organisms living in the same ecosystem. In simpler terms, they illustrate who eats whom. Now, arrows in these types of diagrams represent the direction that energy travels. Arrows should point from the eaten to the eater. So in other words, if you see a diagram of a food chain or a food web, the arrows show from the eaten to the eater. All right, so a food chain is a simple model that shows feeding relationships within one pathway. So basically just a single path. And now remember, as you're filling in, be sure that you color as well, and you know where to find the colors in the classroom, or you can use your own colors. Now here's an example of a food chain. Figure 1 is an example of a food chain. Energy flows from the sun, okay, and you can see the sun down right about here. See if I can get my pen to work. There we go. So here's the sun right there, okay, to the plant. And you know where the plant is. There's your plant right here. Okay. And from the plant to the deer. Okay. From the plant to the deer. Okay. From the eaten to the eater. And from the deer to the wolf. Okay. So again, from the one who's eaten to the eater. And that is a very simple food chain. All right. Now, a food web. All right. So a food web is a more complex model that shows feeding relationships within multiple pathways. So that's why we call it a web, instead of a chain, because just like a spider's web, it just kind of goes in many different directions. But still, the arrow goes from the eaten to the eater. Okay, now here's an example of a food web. Food webs are made up of food chains. Figure 2, an example of a food web. As you can see to the right there, that's a food web. Now use different colors to highlight 3 food chains in this food web. And list the food chains below. Number 1 has been done for you. Okay, so you can take a look here. Here's the plant. Okay, this plant, of course, gets its energy from the sun. All right. And right, so the sun to the plant, to the rabbit, and to the wolf. Okay, so sun to plant, to rabbit, and to the wolf. So that's a food chain. Okay? Now you take a couple minutes to make 2 more food chains. So you have a total of 3 and list them below on your notes. All right, on the back of your notes, you'll find this challenge, design a food web. So here we see a mountain lion that needs energy to survive. So what I'd like you to do is to design a food web by drawing arrows to represent the flow of energy. Okay, on the right of your notes, you'll see an energy roles table. Let's see if I can get my pen to work here. All right. All right. So label each organism in your food chain as a producer. That would be plants. Or a primary consumer. That would be animals that eat plants. Okay, or secondary consumer, that would be the animal that eats plants, or even tertiary consumer, the animal that eats animals that eats animals that eat plants, the one that's at the top of the food chain. All right, now let me know if you have any questions at all.